We join spokes together in a wheel, but it is the center hole that makes the wagon move. We shape clay into a pot, but it is the emptiness inside that holds whatever we want. We hammer wood for a house, but it is the inner space that makes it livable. We work with being, but non-being is what we use. When we read and interpret the classic texts, when we try to make sense of the language, the philosophy and the practices laid out by our ancestors, we must remember that they created and passed on their wisdom to us, a template based on our relationships with the world that surrounds us and informed by context and millennia of clinical experience. However, we must also remember that what they have given us is not a series of fixed points in time and space. It cannot be absolute. It is an interface containing numerous multidimensional and interdependent systems through which we can attempt to view the inner moving cogs of the universe. An interface with which we as practitioners hope to interact to promote balance and harmony in our patients and within ourselves. To quote Hippocrates, as to diseases, we make a habit of two things: to help, or at least to do no harm. Welcome to Acupuncture West London, the podcast. This is the podcast for students, practitioners and enthusiasts of classical Chinese philosophy, Chinese medicine and acupuncture. I'm your host, Ben Carrigan, coming to your ears all the way from London. So join me as we dive deep down the rabbit hole of Chinese philosophy and into the very concepts that inform our practice. Each episode focusing on a specific topic and its application within a clinical setting. This episode is brought to you courtesy of our brand new ebook, Yin and Yang. What are Yin and Yang? What are the laws of Yin and Yang? And how are they used as defining principles for our very existence? To answer these questions and more, download your free copy at acupuncture-westlondon.com/free ebook. So today, I am here to introduce you to the newest Chinese medicine podcast on the scene. To answer all your questions, and to give you a brief taste of all the exciting things to come. So what is Acupuncture West London, the podcast? And who is it for? What is the focus of this podcast? What makes us different from other Chinese medicine podcasts? And why did I decide to create this one? And finally, what's the format for the show? These are all great questions and all will be answered. So what and who is this podcast for? So I created Acupuncture West London, the podcast, as a resource primarily for students, practitioners and enthusiasts of classical Chinese philosophy, Chinese medicine and acupuncture. Really for anyone who wishes to deepen their understanding of the concepts that inform our practice. For example, 5-element acupuncture and TCM are rooted in the classics and in Wu Yun Liu Qi, stems and branches theory. The relationship between heaven, earth and man, humankind's relationship with the universe and his or her environment, the movement from the unmanifest to the manifest, spirit and form, fire and water, yang and yin. So when we study Chinese medicine and acupuncture, we learn various principles and treatment protocols. But what are these concepts rooted in and why? We are all wells of knowledge and experience in our own unique ways. But what have we taken for granted in our own lives, our own practices, and in the treatment of our patients? From a TCM perspective, why are certain point combinations used to address certain pathologies? What are the concepts that inform these protocols? What are the Sheng and Ke cycles in 5-element acupuncture? And how are they rooted in Wu Liu Liu Qi? How are these reflected in the 4 seasons, 5 phases or 5 elements, and within the human body as the Zhang Fu? How is numerology at the very core of Chinese medicine? So there's loads to talk about, as you can see. So with each episode, we will focus on a specific topic and then attempt to address its application within a clinical setting. So what's the focus of this podcast? Well, the podcast's primary focus is on classical Chinese philosophy, the classical texts and their application in modern practice. We'll also cover things like point location, diagnosis, TCM patterns and point combinations, different styles of acupuncture, business strategies, clinical advice, and loads more. So what makes us different from other Chinese medicine podcasts, and why did I decide to create this one? There are already some really great and high quality podcasts out there that delve into TCM and other aspects of Chinese medicine. Kenton Sefcik of TCM Graduate TV, Michael Max of Qiology, and loads more. And all have got me through many of my own exams and continue to give me light bulb moments and provoke further questions that I need to ask myself. They also get to introduce me to other styles of acupuncture that I may not be so familiar with. So you should definitely check them all out. But it's not my intention to launch a podcast to compete with theirs. Instead, I feel that there's space for a podcast on classical Chinese philosophy and how this informs our practice. So that's why I'm here. So I really hope that this will serve as an educational and motivational tool, both for myself and for fellow students, practitioners and enthusiasts of Chinese medicine and acupuncture. Within this context, I'm really hoping to involve the wider student and practitioner community by means of regular guest interviews and Q&A sessions. This way we can all continue to learn from and support one another in a relaxed and supportive environment. I didn't create this podcast to be a highbrow platform for academics. I do absolutely intend for it to be challenging, but I created this as a platform for all of us to ask questions and to have them answered, and failing that, at the very least, to have a decent debate in the process. There will be much, I'm sure, that we all can't agree on, but for me, it's really important for all of us to be able to hold seemingly conflicting principles in our own minds so that we can challenge them ourselves within our own practice and find a context for each of them. After all, it's easy to forget that they're all based on the experiences of those who came before us, and we need to remain infinitely humbled by that. As host, I am positioning myself as the asker of questions. By no means am I an expert. A key part of the manifesto is to always be accessible to you, the listener, for us to be seen as approachable, and in being so, to be adaptable to your questions and feedback, and to be driven by what you want to hear. So if you have ideas, I want to hear them. You can email me at podcast@acupuncture-westlondon.com. Your engagement is not just appreciated, but encouraged. And remember, there's no such thing as a silly question. It's always the simple things that we take for granted that need the most thought. We can't build on the more complex principles until we can live and breathe the basics. Just like I myself can't claim to be solid in my own understanding of certain ideas and concepts until I'm able to explain them to others and to put them into practice. And for me, that's really the basis of this podcast. Within each episode, we will look to respond to listeners' questions relating to the previous episode's topic. So what's the format for the show? So many podcasts publish episodes between 45 to 75 minutes in duration. For us, episodes will be 20 to 30 minutes, so it gives you a chance to absorb bite-sized and easily digestible chunks of key information in short bursts and in line with your own busy lives. So the show will be a hybrid of styles and include the following formats. We'll have solo content with yours truly. Then we will have guest interviews, authors. We'll have academics, specialists of particular areas of classical Chinese medicine and philosophy, experienced or master practitioners, guest co-hosts, students, other podcasters from related shows, and as I mentioned already, Q&A sessions facilitating questions from students and practitioners. So I really do hope you join me moving forward. I'm really excited about this project. It's really exciting times. I'm really looking forward to learning from all of you, and I'm really looking forward to seeing our little community grow in the future. See you next time. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, rate and review. To keep up to date with all of our upcoming episodes, sign up to our podcast newsletter. By doing so, you'll get your very own copy of my brand new ebook, Yin and Yang. Check out acupuncture-westlondon.com/free ebook. See you next time.